The Doorman by E.J. Moore. The hallway stretched wide and far. Its floors were draped with a beautifully soft red carpet, its walls a mosaic of doors. Each door was unique, some ornate with golden frames, others plain and unassuming. The doorman stood at the center, his outreached hand gesturing to a door. He knew what lay behind every door. He always knew. He had spent a lifetime guiding others. Once a beautiful young woman stood before him. Her long black hair danced in front of her face, gently kissing her cheek as she trembled with indecision. "I just don't feel like I'm ready," she whispered. The doorman smiled gently, though it pained him. "You'll never feel ready," he said, his voice more of a reflection than advice. "You just have to act as if you are." Confidence shone in his smile, backed by the experience in his eye. Her eyes widened as she twisted the knob and stepped through, disappearing into the light. The doorman watched as the door clicked shut and the hallway shifted, taking his breath with it. The walls rippled like water and new doors appeared where old ones had been. The doorman sighed. He turned to the next person waiting, putting on his professional smile, a middle-aged man clutching a briefcase. "This one?" the man asked, pointing to a heavy oak door. With a smile and a slight tilt of the chin, the doorman replied, "It's not an easy one, but it's the one for you." The man hesitated, but with a sharp exhale he trudged forward. Opening the door with a look of determination, the man stepped into a world of challenges he was destined to overcome. The hallway was almost never empty. People came and went, each guided by the doorman. He was their compass, their reassurance. He saw their paths clearly, their triumphs, their failures, their moments of joy and despair. But when the hallway was silent, he would reach for a door himself. His fingers would graze the handle, and his heart would ache with longing. He knew what lay behind each one: love, adventure, success, even peace. Yet when he tried to turn the knob, it wouldn't budge. He was not meant to pass through. Years blurred into decades. The doorman's face grew lined, his hair silvered. The hallway remained unchanged, infinite and unyielding. He had guided countless souls, watched them step into lives he could only imagine. One day a child approached, his gaze clear and unclouded, as if seeing more than most. "Why don't you go through a door yourself?" he asked, his voice simple but probing. His eyes meeting the doorman's with a quiet intensity. The doorman's smile faltered, his heart heavy with unspoken truths. "Because someone has to stay here to help," he said quietly, looking past the child and down the endless corridor. "Says who?" the child asked in a teasing but playful tone. The doorman stopped, the question repeating in his mind over and over. He did not know. He straightened, forcing a confident smile. "My duty as the doorman." But the words felt hollow, and for the first time he wasn't sure why. The child frowned. "But what's the point in knowing and not going? Like, it's one thing to read books all your life, but wouldn't it be better to have your own adventure?" The doorman's chest tightened. His smile wavered. It wasn't the first time someone had asked him that question, but it stung worse and worse each time. He watched the boy disappear into his own path before the door shut behind him with a soft click. The hallway sat still, silent. The doorman's fingers hovered over the handle of a nearby door. "My own adventure," he muttered to himself, reaching for the handle, but in a moment of hesitation the hall shifts. The doorman frantically reaches out, chasing the knob, desperate to grasp it as the walls morphed and a row of new doors emerged. The vibrant hallway now seemed slightly dimmer through the despair of the doorman's eyes. A sharp pain spread through him, the weight of 1,000 lives he had never lived, weighing on his soul as the hallway shifts around him. As life on Earth gradually burned out, so too did the doors. People ceased to come. The once vibrant hallway, filled with choices and possibilities, began to lose its color and its warmth, until there was only one door left. The doorman approached it, the flicker of hope stirring in his chest. This would be the end. It had to be. The last door, the last chance. For what, he wasn't sure, but his heart beat a little faster with each step. His hand trembled as he reached for the final door. Time stood still as a cold bead of sweat rested on his forehead. The wood felt smooth beneath his fingertips, worn with time and memory. He could almost see it. His life, peaceful and quiet. A cabin by the lake, moments of solitude, peace. His hand grasped the cold metallic handle as he twisted. Locked. And for the first time he truly understood the weight of his sacrifice. The hallway, a once vibrant testament to choice and life, was now a shadow of what it had been, abandoning him with the silence of his solitude. The ember of hope flickered out, leaving only a cold nothingness and ash. He sank to the ground, his forehead pressed against the door as he closed his eyes, a single tear slowly rolling off his cheek. "But I helped," he let out with a broken cry. "Didn't I do what I was supposed to?" As his weak fist thudded against the door, the now coarse grain scraping his palm as his hand slid down. The door towered over him, not just in size but in presence, an unspoken mockery woven into its very being. It did not move, yet it felt as if it watched, silent and patient, as if amused by his insignificance. "Where's my adventure?" he whimpered, his voice unsteady, with the realization that after all this time he had no answers. The hallway didn't respond. It didn't need to. It simply faded into darkness, and with it, the doorman vanished.